The click of handcuffs around my sister's wrists is the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. Harper Marwick, my perfect, powerful, always in control sister, stands frozen in the lobby of Marwick Properties. Her cream designer dress wrinkles where the detective grips her elbow. Her face has gone white. Harper Marwick, you're under arrest for wire fraud, forgery, and theft by deception, Detective Morrison says. You have the right to remain silent. Harper's eyes find mine. Fear, rage, betrayal. Good. You did this, she hisses. After everything I did for you. Everything you did to me, I correct. My voice doesn't shake. Not after 3 weeks of investigating, gathering evidence, building my case. 3 weeks ago, I was Selkie Marwick, office manager, coffee fetcher, grateful little sister. I lived in a 400-square-foot studio, drove a dying car, and thanked Harper daily for the $38,000 a year job that barely kept me afloat. 3 weeks ago, I believed my parents left us almost nothing. 3 weeks ago, I didn't know I should have inherited $823,000. The detective leads Harper toward the door. She twists back. Selkie, please, you don't understand. The door closes. Through the glass, I watch them load her into the sedan. Scottsdale's sun glints off her handcuffs. I sit at my desk and open the manila folder. Inside is the letter I found 3 weeks ago. The letter Harper told me was just sentimental items. Nothing important. She lied. My father's handwriting listed everything. Life insurance, $850,000. House, $420,000. Investments, $340,000. To be split equally between our beloved daughters. Equally. I got $15,000 and 9 years of poverty. Harper got everything else and built an empire. 12 years ago, Arizona, spring 2014, the phone call came at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was 19, studying in my ASU dorm. Is this Selkie Marwick? Official voice. Careful. Yes? Scottsdale Police. There's been an accident. The next 72 hours exist as fragments. Hospital lights. A doctor's kind eyes. Words that didn't make sense. Didn't survive. Drunk driver. I'm sorry. Swithin Marwick, 54, and Assault Marwick, 52, were gone. A drunk driver named Jeffrey Paulson ran a red light at 70 miles an hour and erased my parents from the world. Harper arrived first. She was 26, fresh from her MBA, confident and capable. She wrapped me in her arms while I sobbed. I've got you, she whispered. I'll take care of everything. And she did. Harper handled everything. Funeral arrangements, lawyers, documents. She moved into my dorm for 2 weeks, made sure I ate, made sure I breathed. I was so grateful. I should have been paying attention. 10 days after the funeral, Harper sat me down with a folder. Color-coded tabs. Professional. We need to talk about the estate. She squeezed my hand. Mom and Dad had more debt than anyone realized. Credit cards, mortgage, loans they hid from us. The house has a huge mortgage. After we pay everything, after lawyer fees, she slid papers across. Your share is $15,000. $15,000. My parents' entire lives. I signed everything she gave me. Powers of attorney, estate documents, things I didn't understand. Harper guided my hand. This makes it easier, she explained, so you don't deal with lawyers and courts. I trusted her. Of course I did. She was my sister, the person who held me at the funeral. She was also the person who forged guardianship documents claiming I was mentally incompetent, who convinced a court I couldn't handle my inheritance, who transferred $850,000 into accounts I never knew existed, but I wouldn't learn that for 12 years. Harper told me one more thing that day. Dad's father, Theodore Brennan, he died 5 years ago. Heart attack. Dad never got to reconcile. Another lie. Theodore was alive in Sedona. Harper just needed me to believe he was dead so I'd never look for him. So I'd never know she was visiting him regularly, positioning herself to inherit his $4.2 million estate. We're alone now, Harper said softly. It's just us, Sel. Just you and me. I felt so small. The world had contracted to two people, me and Harper. "I'll take care of you," she promised. "We're family." I believed every word. The 9-year desert, 2014 to 2023. $15,000 doesn't last long. I dropped out of ASU 3 months later. Couldn't focus. Couldn't afford tuition. By summer, I was waitressing at Desert Rose Diner. Double shifts for $2.13 plus tips. I moved into a Tempe studio, $750 a month for 400 square feet with broken AC and a kitchenette where you could reach the stove and sink without moving. My therapist called it depression. I called it survival. My 2009 Toyota Corolla became a second job. Something always broke. The mechanic, Luis, knew me by name. "Selkie, mija, you gotta get a better car." "Can't afford one, Luis." "Can't afford this one either." He was right. I worked at the diner for 2 years, then Target, then temp agencies. Executive assistant, data entry, receptionist. I smiled, answered phones, made coffee. Pleasant and forgettable and desperately broke. I watched college friends graduate, get jobs, get engaged. They posted trips to Mexico, new apartments, engagement rings. I posted nothing. I stopped checking social media. It hurt too much. Meanwhile, Harper's life exploded. 2015. She opened Marwick Properties in Old Town Scottsdale. Prime location, sleek office, her name in silver letters. LinkedIn said she'd secured private investment capital. That capital was my inheritance. By 2017, her first $1 million sale. By 20 luxury homes in Paradise Valley. By 2021, she owned one herself. $2.3 million per Zillow. White Porsche Cayenne, designer dresses, hair appointments at Gilt that cost more than my monthly groceries. We had lunch monthly. She picked expensive restaurants, ordered wine I couldn't afford, insisted on paying. Generous, except it was my money. "How are you doing, Sel?" "Okay, managing." "Still at the temp agency?" "Yeah, it's fine." "If you ever need anything..." The offer hung there, unfinished. Help available, but I had to beg for it. I rarely asked. When I did, $900 car repair, rent increase, Harper would lend me money. Always with slight hesitation, a tiny furrow. "Again?" "I'll pay you back." "Don't worry, we're family." I kept a tally. By 2023, I owed her $4,300, except I didn't. She owed me $823,000 plus 12 years. But I didn't know that yet. Bring 2023. The call came on a Tuesday. I was between jobs eating store-brand cereal, stretching 340 until month's end. "Sel, it's Harper. I have a proposition. Marwick Properties is growing. I need someone I trust to manage the office. Day-to-day operations, scheduling, administrative work. Interested?" My heart jumped. "A job?" $38,000 a year, benefits, stable hours. After 9 years under $25,000, that sounded like wealth. "You're organized, reliable, and family. I trust you." Harper paused. "I know things have been hard. I want to help." Relief flooded through me. "Yes, thank you, Harper. Thank you so much." I started Monday. The office was beautiful. Glass walls, modern furniture, expensive taste. Harper's office in back, door always closed. I worked the front desk, greeting clients, answering phones, organizing showings, making coffee. So much coffee. "Selkie, grab me a latte from Cartel Coffee." "Selkie, the Johnsons are coming at 2. "Selkie, reorganize these files by Friday." I didn't mind. This was stable. I could fix my car, buy groceries without calculating every item, breathe. But I was completely dependent. Harper controlled my paycheck, schedule, professional worth. I couldn't quit without a backup plan. Now I see it. She kept me close to control me. Poor enough to be grateful. Grateful enough not to ask questions. 3 years of "yes, Harper" and "right away, Harper," and "thank you for this opportunity." I was the coffee woman, and I was grateful. 6 months ago, something shifted. Harper left her office door ajar during a call. I heard her mention account transfers, numbers too large for normal business. 180,000 to a consulting firm I'd never heard of. When I asked casually, Harper's face went blank before her smile returned. Just overhead stuff, nothing interesting. But my brain started doing math. If the company could spend 180,000 on consulting, why was I earning $38,000? I started paying attention. 3 months ago, I was moving apartments. Same crappy studio, different building, $50 less rent. Every dollar mattered. In my closet, I found the box. Cardboard, taped shut, marked, Parents, Sentimental, in Harper's handwriting. She'd given it to me after the funeral. I'd opened it once, seen photos and cards, closed it because it hurt. 12 years later, I was ready. Inside, letters between my parents, photos of me and Harper as kids, a birthday card from Dad. To our Selkie girl, may you always swim in wonder. At the bottom, an envelope, thick paper, formal. To our beloved daughters, Harper and Selkie Marwick. My hands shook, Dad's handwriting. Careful, precise. My darling girls, if you're reading this, your mother and I are gone. I'm writing this before a business trip because Isolt insisted. I need you to understand exactly what we're leaving you. Life insurance, Western Heritage, $850,000 home value, 2013 appraisal, $420,000 investment accounts, Edward Jones and Fidelity, $340,000. Total estate, approximately $1,610,000. After debts, mortgage, car loans, credit cards, roughly $85,000. You should have approximately $1,525,000 to split equally. Equally, that's important. Harper, you'll probably handle the estate. Take care of your sister. Selkie, trust your sister but ask questions. We love you both more than words can say. Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I opened my laptop, checked every deposit Harper ever made, the $15,000 initial payment, the small loans over years. Total received $19,300. My share should have been $760 to $500. I sat on the floor, surrounded by boxes and lies, and I understood. My sister didn't help me from kindness. She didn't give me a job because she cared. She stole from me, then kept me poor enough, close enough, and grateful enough that I'd never figure it out. The next morning, I called in sick. Then I looked up estate lawyers in Phoenix. Time to stop being the coffee woman. Preston Webb's office was in an old building in downtown Phoenix, the kind with brass nameplates and creaky elevators. He'd semi-retired 5 years ago, the receptionist told me, but still took consultations by appointment. I almost didn't go, almost convinced myself I was wrong, paranoid, ungrateful. But that letter, Dad's careful handwriting, those numbers, wouldn't let me sleep. Preston was 60, silver-haired, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He remembered me immediately. Selkie Marwick. He stood, shook my hand. I'm so sorry about your parents. That was, 12 years ago now? Yes, sir. I sat across from his desk, clutching my folder. You handled their estate. His expression shifted, guarded. I began to. Your sister Harper took over most of the work. Said you preferred she handle the details. I found something. I slid Dad's letter across the desk. This was in my parents' belongings. Harper told me the estate was worth almost nothing after debts. But this says... Preston was already reading, his jaw tightening. When he looked up, anger flashed in his eyes. I knew something was wrong, he said quietly. Harper came to me 3 weeks after the funeral. Said you were too distraught to handle estate matters, that you'd signed power of attorney giving her control. She had documents with your signature. I don't remember signing anything like that. I asked to meet with you directly, to confirm. Harper said you were too fragile, that seeing a lawyer would traumatize you further. He removed his glasses, rubbed his eyes. I pushed back. She fired me, hired a different firm, one that didn't know your family. My hands clenched. So you suspected? I suspected. But you were an adult who'd signed documents. Legally, I had no standing to interfere. Preston leaned forward. Selkie, if what your father wrote is accurate, you were owed over $700,000. If Harper took that money through fraudulent guardianship, that's felony theft, forgery, possibly elder abuse if she's also manipulated other family members. Our grandfather, I said. She told me he died years ago, but I need to check. I can help with that. Preston pulled out a business card. But you need someone who specializes in estate litigation and fraud. Someone who can build a criminal case, not just civil. He wrote a name on the back. Patricia Holloway, best fraud prosecutor turned private attorney in Arizona. Tell her I sent you. Patricia Holloway's office was nothing like Preston's. Modern, efficient, walls covered with framed victories, case settlements, courtroom photos, news articles with headlines like Attorney Recovers 2NM in Estate Fraud Case. Patricia herself was 56, sharp-eyed, dressed in a power suit that meant business. She listened to my story without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she set down her pen. Your sister is either very smart or very arrogant, probably both. Patricia flipped through the documents I'd brought. Dad's letter, my bank statements, Harper's business filings. The good news is that fraud has a longer statute of limitations in Arizona. 12 years is still within range, especially if we can prove ongoing deception. Can we? We're going to find out. She opened her laptop. First, we request official estate documents from Maricopa County Probate Court. Everything filed in your parents' case. If Harper forged guardianship papers, we'll see it. 3 days later, the files arrived. Patricia spread them across her conference table. Look at this. She pointed to a petition dated April 2014, 2 weeks after my parents' death. The pressure's too consistent, no natural variation. It looks traced. She pulled up bank records next, months of subpoenas distilled into spreadsheets. April 2014. Life insurance payout of $850,000 deposited into a State of Marwick account, controlled by Harper as guardian. May 2014. House sale, $420,000 deposited. June 2014. Investment accounts liquidated, $340,000. Total, $1.61 million. Patricia scrolled down. July 2014. Harper pays off legitimate debts. Mortgage, $62,000. Credit cards, $18,000. Car loans, $8,000. Total debts, $88,000. Estate value after debts, $1,522,000. I did the math in my head. My half should be $761,000. Should be. Patricia's finger moved down the screen. August 2014. Single transfer from estate account to your personal account, $15,000. Memo line. Inheritance distribution. Full settlement. Full settlement, I whispered. She wrote that it was everything. And then, Patricia clicked to the next screen. September 2014. Harper transfers $735,000 from estate account to a new business account. Marwick Properties, LLC. Your inheritance became her startup capital. The room felt too small. She built everything on my money. Yes. Patricia closed the laptop. And there's more. I ran a search on business filings. Marwick Properties shows initial capital of $750,000 from personal inheritance and savings. But Harper was 26 in 2014, fresh out of grad school. Where would she get $750,000 in personal savings? She wouldn't. Exactly. She committed wire fraud, transferring stolen funds across state lines. That's federal. FBI jurisdiction. Patricia leaned back. Selkie, this isn't just civil theft. This is criminal fraud, forgery, identity theft, potentially racketeering if she's done this to others. We're talking decades in prison. My throat tightened. She's my sister. She's a criminal who stole your life. Patricia's voice softened. I know this is hard, but you need to decide. Do you want restitution or do you want justice? I thought about 9 years of poverty, 9 years of broken cars and ramen dinners and studio apartments where I couldn't afford to turn on the heat. 9 years of being grateful for scraps while Harper lived in Paradise Valley, luxury built on my inheritance. Justice, I said. I want justice. Patricia nodded. Then we need to find out if there are other victims, and we need to verify something else. She pulled up a genealogy database. Your grandfather, Theodore Brennan. Harper told you he died in 2012? Yes. Patricia typed, waited. Theodore Brennan, born 1946, last known address, Sedona, Arizona. Status, living. The room spun. He's alive? Very much so. Patricia turned the screen toward me. A recent property tax record, Theodore's name. A phone number. Why would Harper lie about that? But even as I asked, I knew. Patricia's expression was dark. Let's find out. Patricia called Theodore from her office, speakerphone on. I sat frozen, listening to it ring. Hello? An elderly voice, strong but careful. Mr. Brennan? My name is Patricia Holloway. I'm an attorney in Phoenix. I'm calling about your family, specifically about your granddaughter, Selkie Marwick. Silence. Then, I don't understand. Selkie died 12 years ago in the accident with my son. I covered my mouth. Patricia's eyes met mine, gentle, understanding. Mr. Brennan, I'm sitting here with Selkie right now. She's very much alive. That's impossible. Harper told me. His voice broke. Harper said the whole family died. She said she was in the car but survived. She said Selkie, she didn't make it. Harper lied to you, sir. A long pause. I heard him breathing unsteady. Put her on, please. Let me hear her voice. Patricia pushed the phone toward me. I couldn't speak at first. Hello? Theodore's voice, desperate. Is someone there? Grandpa? The word felt strange. I'd never called him that. It's Selkie. I'm here. He wept. I'd never heard a stranger cry before, never heard someone break down from joy and grief tangled together. Patricia handed me tissues. I was crying too. I thought you were dead, Theodore said finally. For 12 years I thought I'd lost my son and both my granddaughters. I mourned you, child. I mourned you. Harper told me you died in 2012, heart attack. I'm 79 and stubborn as hell. A wet laugh. Very much alive, and Harper has been visiting me regularly since 2016. My stomach dropped. Visiting you? Every few months. She said she was my only family left. She told me about her work, said she was in financial consulting, traveling a lot. I never questioned it. His voice hardened. I gave her money. Gifts, I called them. Help with business expenses, rent, student loans. Over the years. He paused. Over 200,000. Patricia was already typing notes. There's more, Theodore continued. My estate. I'm not a poor man, Selkie. I built a manufacturing business, sold it in 2010. I'm worth about $4.2 million. Harper helped me write a new will 2 years ago. She's the sole beneficiary. Jesus, Patricia muttered. She was pushing me to sign power of attorney next month, Theodore said. Said it would make things easier as I age. I was going to do it. If we hadn't found the truth, Harper would have controlled everything. Theodore's entire fortune, plus mine. She would have had nearly $5 million. Mr. Brennan, Patricia said. We have evidence that Harper forged documents to steal Selkie's inheritance in 2014. We're building a criminal case. Would you be willing to cooperate? Ma'am, I'll do whatever it takes. Steel in his voice now. That woman manipulated a grieving old man for 8 years. She stole from her own sister. She deserves to face consequences. Good, because I have an idea. Patricia leaned forward. Harper doesn't know we're on to her. She thinks Selkie is still the obedient little sister, still working at her company. If we confront her without warning, with Selkie and Theodore both present, we can see her true reaction. Gauge whether she'll cooperate or fight. A trap, I said. A confrontation. Patricia smiled. Harper has kept you and Theodore separated for 12 years. Let's bring her two worlds crashing together. We planned it carefully. Theodore would come to Scottsdale, play the role of a potential client interested in real estate. I would accidentally encounter him, not knowing who he was, and bring him to Harper's office. The staging had to be perfect. If Harper suspected we were working together, she'd lawyer up immediately. Tuesday morning, I took the bus to work. My Toyota was in the shop again, conveniently. Theodore boarded at the Scottsdale Fashion Square stop, exactly as planned. He looked good for 79. Well-dressed in a blazer and pressed slacks, leaning on a cane. When he saw me, his eyes filled with tears, he quickly blinked away. "Excuse me," he said, voice steady despite the emotion. "Is this seat taken?" "No, please." I stood, offered him my seat. Our first time meeting in person, and we had to pretend to be strangers. "Thank you, young lady." He settled in, set his leather bag down. "These buses aren't made for old bones." "Where are you headed?" "Old Town Scottsdale, looking at real estate options, thinking about downsizing from my place in Sedona." He smiled. "You live around here?" "I work here. Real estate office, actually." "Is that so?" Perfect surprise in his voice. "What are the chances? Which office?" "Marwick Properties, just a few blocks from here." Something flickered in his eyes. Pain, anger, determination. "Marwick. Interesting name. Think they'd mind if I dropped by? I'd love to see some listings." "I'm sure they'd be happy to help." I pulled the bus cord. "This is my stop. You can walk with me if you'd like." We walked 2 blocks in warm Arizona morning sun. Theodore asked about my life, my job. I gave vague answers. Every word felt loaded with 12 years of lies we were about to explode. At the office entrance, silver letters spelling Marwick Properties above glass doors. Theodore paused. "You ready?" I whispered. "Let's finish this," he said. The lobby was empty when we entered. I led Theodore to the reception area. "Have a seat. I'll let my boss know you're here." Harper's office door was closed. I knocked. "Come in." She was on her laptop, designer reading glasses perched on her nose, white silk blouse, perfectly styled hair. The picture of success. "There's a potential client here, interested in Sedona Scottsdale properties. Says he's downsizing." Harper's professional smile appeared. "Great. Give me 2 minutes." I returned to the lobby. Theodore sat calmly, hands folded over his cane. We didn't speak. Harper emerged, smile-ready heels clicking on polished concrete. She had a tablet under her arm, probably pulled up listing photos. "Good morning. I'm Harper Marwick, owner of—" She saw Theodore. Every bit of color drained from her face. Her tablet slipped from her fingers, clattered to the floor. She grabbed the doorframe, knuckles white. "Grandpa Ted." Barely a whisper. Theodore stood slowly, deliberately. He looked at her with an expression I'd never seen. Cold, disappointed, disgusted. "Hello, Harper." His voice was steady. "I believe you told your sister I was dead." I watched my sister's mind race behind her eyes, calculating, spinning. She looked at me, at Theodore, back to me. This isn't—" She tried to smile, failed. "Grandpa, what are you doing here? And Selkie, what—" "Interesting question," Theodore interrupted. "I could ask you the same thing. What are you doing running a real estate company you never mentioned? Using your family name when you told me your last name was different? Working here in Scottsdale when you said you lived in Tucson?" Harper's hands were shaking. "I can explain." "Can you explain why you told me Selkie died 12 years ago?" "She was in the car," Harper said quickly. "I thought it was confusing." "I wasn't in the car." My voice came out stronger than I expected. "I was at college. You know that, Harper. You picked me up from my dorm." "You were distraught. You weren't making sense. I thought—" "Stop lying." Theodore's voice cracked like a whip. He opened his leather bag, pulled out the manila folder Patricia had prepared. "I hired a private investigator 3 months ago, after I saw Selkie's photo on your website. The granddaughter I'd been mourning for 12 years, alive, working for her sister." He spread documents across the coffee table. Bank statements, business filings, property records. "You told me Selkie died so I'd give you money, so I'd change my will, so I'd trust you." Theodore's voice was shaking now, not with age, but with rage. "For 8 years. You played the devoted granddaughter while stealing from both of us. Harper looked at the documents, her face a mask. I saw her weighing options. Deny everything? Claim misunderstanding? Blame me? I have forensic accountants, Theodore continued. Handwriting experts, lawyers. I know about the forged guardianship documents. I know you took Selke's $760,000 inheritance and built this company with it. I know you've been taking money from me while positioning yourself to inherit everything when I die. You don't understand, Harper started. Then explain it to me. Theodore leaned forward. Explain how stealing from your grieving 19-year-old sister was justified. Explain how lying to me for 8 years was necessary. I'm listening. Silence. Harper's professional mask cracked. Underneath, I saw desperation, fear, and something else. Defiance. I built this company, she said quietly. I worked day and night for 9 years. Every property, every deal, every success. That was me. I earned this. With Selke's money, Theodore said. Money she would have wasted. She was falling apart. She couldn't handle it. I was protecting her. By stealing from her? My voice was ice. By keeping me poor while you lived in a $2.3 million house? By paying me $38,000 a year while spending my inheritance? Harper looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. The obedient little sister was gone. We have 2 options, Theodore said. Option 1, you make full restitution. You cooperate with authorities. You admit what you did and face consequences with some dignity intact. Or, Harper's voice was hollow, or I walk out this door and call the police. Wire fraud, forgery, elder financial exploitation. Federal charges, Harper. Decades in prison. The room held its breath. Harper sat down slowly. She looked at her hands, at the office she'd built, at the life about to come crashing down. I need a lawyer, she said finally. Theodore's expression didn't change. Then you've made your choice. He pulled out his phone, dialed. Detective Morrison, this is Theodore Brennan. I'm at Marwick Properties in Scottsdale, and I have evidence of felony fraud I'd like to report. Harper's face went white again. She looked at me one last time. Selke, please. But I was done listening. The police arrived 17 minutes later. Patricia worked fast. Within 2 weeks, she'd assembled a case that would have made lesser criminals surrender immediately. Forensic accountant Timothy Walsh traced every dollar. The $850,000 life insurance payment deposited into Harper's controlled account. The $735,000 transfer to Marwick Properties, LLC. The meticulous way Harper had drained my inheritance while depositing exactly $15,000 into my account with the memo full settlement. She was careful, Timothy said, pointing at spreadsheets, but not careful enough. Look here. September 2014, she pays herself a $180,000 owner distribution from the company. That's your inheritance money going straight into her personal account. Patricia subpoenaed Harper's business records. What we found was worse than theft from family. Jesus Christ, Patricia muttered, scanning documents. She's been doing this to clients too. 8 elderly clients had filed complaints over the years about missing funds from home sales. Nothing that triggered investigations, amounts small enough to dismiss as accounting errors. $8,000 here, $12,000 there. One woman, Dorothy Palmer, lost $45,000 from her family home sale. It's a pattern, Patricia said. She handles escrow, skims amounts, clients never notice until it's too late. Total across 8 victims, $340,000. The FBI got involved when Patricia showed them the wire fraud evidence. Special Agent Lauren Briggs took the case personally. People like your sister, Briggs said during our first meeting, they think they're smarter than everyone else. They think they've covered their tracks, but there's always a trail. Harper hired Nathan Cross, an aggressive criminal defense attorney known for wealthy clients. He tried every angle, claim I was incompetent in 2014, suggest Theodore's memory was faulty, argue the business fraud was accounting mistakes. Then Patricia found the recording. Theodore had recorded a phone call from 3 months earlier. Arizona is a one-party consent state. Harper's voice, clear and confident. Don't worry, Grandpa. Selkie doesn't know anything. She never will. Everything's under control. Premeditation. Conspiracy. Ongoing fraud. Cross's case collapsed before trial even started. The Maricopa County Superior Court was cold, institutional, nothing like the TV courtrooms. I sat behind Patricia in the gallery, Theodore beside me. His hand found mine when Harper was led in. She wore a navy suit, hair pulled back, minimal makeup, the calculated look of someone trying to appear sympathetic. But her eyes, when they met mine, were empty. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Week 1, the prosecution deputy DA Lauren Briggs built the case methodically, financial records showing the inheritance theft. Timothy Walsh explaining money trails so clearly even I understood every fraudulent transfer. Dorothy Palmer testified first among the elderly victims. 82 years old, she walked slowly to the stand. I trusted Ms. Marwick, Dorothy said, voice shaking. She sold my family home. My husband and I lived there 40 years. She said the buyer offered $380,000. I later found out they paid $425,000. She kept the difference. How much did you lose, Mrs. Palmer? $45,000. And Dorothy looked directly at Harper. That was my retirement, my medication money. She took it and I had no idea until your investigators called. 6 more elderly victims testified, each story the same. Trust exploited, money stolen, lives disrupted. Then Theodore took the stand. Mr. Brennan, how much money did you give the defendant over 8 years? $200,000. She said she needed help with student loans, business expenses, rent. I wanted to help my only surviving grandchild. Theodore's voice broke. Except she wasn't my only grandchild. She'd lied about Selkie dying so I'd give her everything. Did the defendant ever mention running a real estate company? Never. She said she worked in financial consulting, traveled frequently. I never questioned it. Theodore looked at Harper. I trusted her completely. My turn came on day 8. Ms. Marwick, walk us through what happened after your parents died. I described the grief, the confusion, Harper taking control of everything. The documents I signed without reading. The $15,000 I received while Harper took $760,000. Cross's cross-examination was brutal. You admit you signed documents giving your sister control? I signed what she told me were funeral arrangements. But you did sign? I was 19. My parents had just died. I trusted my sister. So you made no effort to verify anything? To check account statements? To hire your own lawyer? I was barely functional. I could hardly breathe. I looked at the jury. Have you ever lost both parents suddenly? Been so destroyed by grief you can't think straight? That's what Harper counted on. My weakness. My trust. She exploited it completely. Cross had no response to that. Week 2. The defense. Harper took the stand. Cross tried to paint her as a protective older sister who made difficult decisions. I was scared, Harper said, voice soft. Selkie was falling apart. I thought if she had access to that much money in her state of mind, she'd hurt herself. I was protecting her. By stealing from her? Briggs shot back on cross-examination. By building a company with her inheritance? I was going to tell her, when she was ready. 12 years later, she still wasn't ready? While you lived in a $2.3 million house and paid her $38,000 a year? I gave her a job. You kept her dependent. You kept her poor. You kept her grateful so she'd never question anything. Briggs held up the recorded call. You told your grandfather, Selkie doesn't know anything. She never will. That's not protection, Ms. Marwick. That's calculated deception. Harper had no answer. Cross tried attacking Theodore's competency. At 79, maybe he was confused about the gifts? But Theodore's testimony was sharp, detailed, devastating. He had bank statements, emails, text messages. Every $20,000 gift documented with Harper's requests and his transfers. The recording played in court. Harper's voice. Selkie doesn't know anything. She never will. The jury's expressions said everything. Week 3, closing arguments. Briggs stood before the jury, calm and powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is simple. Harper Marwick stole $760,000 from her 19-year-old sister. She stole $200,000 from her 79-year-old grandfather. She stole $340,000 from elderly clients who trusted her. She forged documents. She lied to courts. She built an empire on fraud. The defense wants you to believe this was protection, love, difficult choices. But listen to that recording again. Selke doesn't know anything. She never will. That's not love. That's a predator protecting her territory. Find her guilty. Hold her accountable. Show her that trust isn't something you can steal and profit from. Cross's closing focused on reasonable doubt, accounting complexities, grief-induced confusion. The jury deliberated for 2 days. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. I gripped Theodore's hand. Harper stood, face blank. On count 1, wire fraud, guilty. On count 2, forgery, guilty. On count 3, theft by deception, guilty. 12 counts total. Guilty on all. Harper's knees buckled. Her lawyer caught her elbow. She looked at me one last time. No anger now, just emptiness. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Judge Raymond Kowalski was 60, stern, experienced in white-collar crime. Ms. Marwick, you systematically betrayed every person who trusted you. Your own sister, grieving and vulnerable. Your grandfather, elderly and alone. Clients who put their life savings in your hands. Over 12 years, you stole approximately $1.4 million. You showed no remorse, no honesty. When confronted, you lied. When caught, you blamed your victims. This court finds your actions calculated, deliberate, and devastating. He adjusted his glasses. I hereby sentence you to 22 years in federal prison, eligible for parole after 15 years, full restitution of $1.4 million to all victims. All assets seized and liquidated to satisfy restitution. Harper swayed. The bailiff steadied her. Do you have anything to say, Ms. Marwick? Harper looked at me. For the first time in 12 years, I saw something real in her eyes. Regret? Understanding? Too late? Selke, she whispered. I'm sorry. I got lost. You weren't lost, I said clearly. You chose this. They led her away in handcuffs. The asset liquidation took 3 months. Harper's Paradise Valley house sold for $2.3 million. The Porsche, jewelry, art brought $180,000. Marwick Properties, my company really, sold for $420,000. Her accounts held another $340,000. Total, $3.24 million. I received $950,000. My original $823,000 inheritance plus interest and damages. Theodore got his $200,000 back plus $50,000 for emotional distress. The 8 elderly victims split $340,000 proportionally. Dorothy Palmer cried when she received her check. Thank you, she said, hugging me. Thank you for fighting. With my inheritance finally returned, I paid off 12 years of debt, bought a modest house in Tempe, 3 bedrooms, small yard, mine. Replaced my dying Toyota with a practical Subaru Outback that started every single time. I enrolled in ASU's evening MBA program, studied estate planning and ethical business practices. My thesis, Preventing Familial Financial Fraud. 6 months after the trial, I launched Brennan Property Management. Small operation, just me and 3 employees. We managed 12 rental units with obsessive transparency. Every client got quarterly reports, independent audits, full disclosure. My company motto, printed on every document, trust built on truth. Theodore and I had Sunday dinners at his Sedona home. He taught me about my father, stories from childhood, the fight that separated them, the pride and stubbornness on both sides. I should have apologized, Theodore said one evening, watching the sunset turn red rocks golden. I lost 30 years with my son over stupid pride. Don't make my mistakes, Selkie. I won't. He rewrote his will, split between me and charities, including a $500,000 fund for elder financial protection named after my parents. A year after sentencing, Harper's 8th letter arrived from FCI Phoenix. I'd ignored the first 7 requests for commissary money, help with appeals, desperate claims that I was her only family. I responded to the 8th. Harper, I'm not your ATM. I'm not your backup plan. I'm not your family anymore. You had 12 years to tell the truth. You chose lies every single day. I've moved on. I suggest you do the same. Selkie. Her final letter came 2 weeks later. You're right. I thought I deserved it. I thought I was smarter, worked harder, earned more. But watching you build something real while I rot here, I finally understand. I didn't earn anything. I stole it. And I lost everything that mattered. You won. Not just the case. You won at life. That's the only real thing I've said in years. I kept that letter, never responded, but I felt closure. 18 months after the trial, I rode the bus to ASU for my evening class. An elderly woman struggled with bags. I helped her to a seat. Thank you, dear. These old bones aren't what they used to be. We chatted. She mentioned looking for a property manager. I handed her my card. Brennan Property Management. Trust built on truth. She smiled. Brennan, that's a good, solid name. It's my grandfather's name. He taught me that honesty is the only foundation worth building on. As the bus rolled through Scottsdale streets, past Harper's old office building with new names above the door, I thought about inheritance. Not money, though I had that now, properly, legally, finally mine. Real inheritance is what you choose to become. Harper chose greed, deception, a stolen empire that crumbled the moment truth touched it. I chose justice, truth, something smaller but real, something that would last. Every morning I wake up in my modest house, drive my reliable car, go to my small company, and I smile, because everything I have, I earned, and that's worth more than any stolen fortune. My name is Selkie Marwick. I'm 33 years old, and I finally understand what inheritance really means. Not what you're given, but what you choose to become.